Hello, everyone. It's time for the author spotlight again this week. And we have a special guest who's going to be speaking to us about a subject that quite honestly, and I've admitted this to our author, I don't know a whole lot about, and that's awful on me. And so let's learn together and hear from the author today. Our program today is sponsored by yourauthorhub.com, and I'm Cynthia Martin, your host. Of course, we love to talk to authors. We love to talk about their new books. We love to talk about the writing process itself. So today I want to welcome Ollie Marshall Rico, who has written a book. She's actually written several books, but we'll talk about that as well later. But the book we're going to talk about today is Equality, Injustice, or What? And again, that's by Ollie Marshall Rico. So Ollie, welcome to the program. Tell us about yourself and this book.
Well, my name is Ollie Marshall Rico, and I am the seventh of 16 children that was born to the union of Oral Tony Marshall and B.W. Marshall in Springfield, Arkansas, within the community of Union Chapel. I have written several books, and they are Scattered Changes, The ABC Character Builder, Fire in My Bones, of the Spirit, Surviving the Stain of Losing My First Love, Commander-in-Chief, the 44th President, Equality and Justice of What, which is the book that we're discussing today, and two books that's currently in process of being published. They should come out within the next couple of weeks. God, the Children Graveyard, book 1 and book 2.
Oh, that's impressive. Have you always written? I mean, is this something that you've done your whole life, or is this something new that you've gotten into?
Well, my English teacher, Miss English, was the spearheaded in terms of me writing. When I was in the 10th grade, she had given out an assignment, and I felt that I did not have the ability within me to write it. She encouraged me to write it, and it was echoed by the class. And I wrote a few lines, and it told the story. And she said, and you said you couldn't write, and this class clapped. So from that point on, she has given me the ability, said there was something within me that I need to tell.
That's so powerful, the influence of that, what a teacher can speak into our confidence. And I think that's so important. So Ollie, are you retired from you were an educator, is that correct?
I am a retired educator from Newark Public School System. Okay. I taught transition kindergarten, which was a mixture of special ed on a borderline being classified as special ed and non-special ed. And I must say, most of the children in my class, it was transition kindergarten, most of them elevated out of that classroom if they had the ability. I would say probably about to 95%. When they left my class, they was reading, they had excelled beyond the first grade. Someone left the classroom reading on the 4th grade level. And when I was evaluated from the school district, they could not believe that was a borderline of children between the being classified. Because wow. I would always receive the most challenging children. And the thing was, those children were so very bright. The only thing that was wrong with most of those children, it wasn't wrong with them. I would say, they had never been exposed to the education system before. Yeah. And they was extremely bright. Mm-hmm. When you have someone who have never been exposed to the education system before, they would not know how to comprehend things that are been first exposed to them. And we just had a wonderful time.
That's wonderful. I look back at some of the teachers that I had and some of the confidence that I was lacking from my home, your home life. Not everybody has a wonderful home life. And some of the confidence that I hadn't received there, that I had some teachers that instilled that in me. And I'm so thankful for them. Over the years, I've looked back at them kindly. So, Ollie, when did you write your first book, and what has started you in the book writing process? Because you are a prolific writer, and you've already mentioned all the books that you've written, and you got two coming out this week. So, talk a little bit about when you started and what got you started. Well, I think
Okay,
you've already said about how it got started, but talk about when you
okay,
actually started writing books.
okay. I wrote my first book because at the time I taught pre-K for a while, and I was dealing with early childhood, and I found out sometimes children can be a little cruel to each other,
Mm.
and I took some of the things that they said in a negative sense and turned it around positive. For an example, the ABC Character Build, that's a picture illustrated book, and it says something like this. Some children at the time would not be able to, well, wasn't comprehending as fast as the other one. And some of the children would be cruel and call the child a Dumbo. And I trying to put that child under my wings, and I had that child to teach things like, I said, they call me Dumbo, Dumbo. Here comes the Dumbo, Dumbo. Until one day I made my own song. D is for door, D is for dog, and D is for the doors. And I will turn something around negative and put it in something positive,
Mhm,
like Y. Y is a string of many colors.
mhm,
Y is for youth who seek guidance. Y is for you who seek the light. And that's how my children I began to associate the letters with things that were very positive, and that's how they would be able to grasp and move forward. It was game. They danced and
mhm.
they moved.
Yeah. And so that was the beginning.
That was my first book.
Okay. And so,
I'm
go ahead.
I did not understand the question.
No, that's okay. No, you did. Exactly. It was your first book. And so you used something that you were using in the classroom, and then you wrote it out and created a book from that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So,
I usually what I normally do, I write from three levels: emotional level, observation level, what I see, and I write from interacting through other people. And those are the three levels that I write from.
that's brilliant. Totally brilliant. I love that. That's awesome. So let's talk about equality and justice, or what? What inspired you to write that book?
Well, in the book, Equality and Justice of what? It has over 100 individuals who have met their tragedy, death, I would say, from Julia Alexander to Dante Wright. What inspired me to write that book was the disrespect that I had witnessed as a child put up on my parents.
Yeah.
Um, the, when one of the things I thought about, this young lady who was 17 years old, who had the wisdom to capture an event and send it around the world. Mm-hmm. But one must realize that was not the first event that occurred. Mm-hmm. If you go back and you research over 100 years that was going on, that was a 13-year-old child. She was gathering coal where she could take back to her family so they could feel warm. And this is not a part of book one. I'm writing book two. But what I'm doing in book two, Equality and Justice, or what, was to emphasize what brought the world to a standstill in demonstration is to let them know we have to be more in tune into what is going on in my world, and not only in our world, but all around us. And by doing so, we can move things in a positive way. And I'll give you an example. Is it okay if I give you an example what I'm working on in terms of equality and justice on in book two? Let me see. Okay. Let me see. I would like to. I just want you to hear this. And this happened over 100 years ago. Let me see. Can I pull this up? Okay. The name of this poem is called Lizzie, We Love You Still. More than a century has gone, and our heart still bleeds for you. Gathering coal for the family when the guns splattered your brain. At 13, you died much too young. Lizzie, we love you still. You took your last breath at the railroad track. Your blood gushed from the back of your head. The coal you had gathered splattered all over the ground. Lizzie, we love you still. You are emulated into our lives a bit every day. Ghost, it be not. The realness of you come. Remember me. It is really you, Lizzie. Lizzie, we love you still. The community cried the day you died. It's covered the chilly floor with weeping tears that day. Many days are gone, and many days will come, but your spirit will always be yours bright, will be sunny bright. Lizzie, we love you still. So I read, and I'm emphasizing, in essence, what book one is about, the one that we're discussing today, equality and justice, of what? It tells stories of 100 individuals who have met their tragic death in such a way. Mm-hmm. It is a book. It is ranged alphabetically, and if you're looking for one particular person, you can go to the table of content and find it. And also at the back of the book, you have a bibliography, and you can go into the bibliography of the book to determine if you want to search out anything additional about the person that you want. There is a prelude to each section detailing what is within that particular section. And there are 5 sections to the book. For an example, section looks at Julian Alexander, who was standing on the porch with a broom. A young father to be, lost his life. And a 12-gauge shotgun took the life of a non-mobile, elderly, mentally ill person. Days later, one of her hands was found in the apartment. Now, we call that Eleanor Bunkers. If someone can't hardly move, have to drag themselves around the floor in order to move. She owed less than $100 in real rent. And if anyone knows a mental retarded person, they know their issue. She had been psychologically classified as psychotic. There's that one should deal with people, things that contained in this book. That's I'm just sort of like giving you an overview
Yeah,
of what's in the book. Like
certainly. That's
and
great.
like Prelude, that was like in Prelude 1. Like if you look at Prelude 2, you see teenagers leaving a party and an officer takes a rifle and shoot one in the head as they drive in the opposite direction. A car plate is not displayed correctly and the driver ends up dead. You go to Prelude 3, you may find an officer goes free after killing a 7-year-old. A man dies in Skid Row because officer sees him less than human. Those are things that's within equality and justice of what. And as I said, there are 5 sections, and I'm just pulling out some of this section. If you go into Prelude 4, in section 4, you have a teenager dies because he is viewed not part of a community. He's walking. He's not supposed to be in that community, so he loses his life.
Wow.
2 vehicles gets into a crash. An officer comes to the scene and shoot the black person. You go to Prelude 5, you may find a victim cried out. Now everybody look at George Farmer. That thing was happening much before then. A victim cries out, "I can't breathe." The officer say, "Breathe, bro." A man is picked up on Market Street and beaten to death. Many years gone. Many years gone. So those are the stories that tells you what's in equality and justice of what. But let me also say this, and this is very important. This book is not a condemnation of the entire law enforcement. I want that very clear, because from what I know, and I've traveled a little bit, I think America is one of the greatest countries that we have.
Yeah.
We do have issues.
Yeah.
And one of the main issues that we have is that we have law enforcers who do not honor the oath that they were sworn up to hold. Yeah. That does not, see, that in a way takes away those law enforcers who go out every day and put their life on the line.
Exactly.
I want to make that very clear. This is not a book to condemn law enforcement totally. It just looks at those parts that need to be corrected.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you for, making that statement, because I think that sometimes it's viewed that people are either completely against law enforcement or completely for. And I do think that you're correct. I agree with you that there are some things that need to be done in the law enforcement community, for sure. And so tell us about, because I have admitted even at the very beginning of this that I'm pretty, I know that there's injustice. I would have to have my head in the sand not to understand that or see it. I see it. I did some research in the little town that we moved into, and there was some gross injustices done here when the city was really formed. And my concern was that ever addressed? Because I think those things need to be addressed when you live in a city that there's things like that happened. I think there needs to be some repentance and all kinds of things that need to happen, because I personally believe that blood speaks, and when blood is shed and innocent blood is shed, that brings things upon a community. And so, I mean, I have that much knowledge, but tell me, for someone, you're talking to someone who's only understands that much, what would you recommend that a person like me do to become more informed and to speak up for the rights of um, communities and people groups and things that are being taught, being maybe focused on in inequality? I'm not even sure I'm asking the right
But
question.
I think that's well taken. I think silence speak that you'll consent in terms of what's going on. It is, it's very hard
Mhm,
to speak up.
mhm, yeah,
It's extremely hard to speak up.
mhm,
And it's not about, you know, what you don't have to be either totally liberal or totally conservative.
mhm,
You have to look at the issues and decide on those particular issues. And we could vote. They just had a vote somewhere, one of the in one of the places, and I was listening. I don't recall the exact. Might have been I think it was in Alabama. Um, People spoke their mind. 60% came out. You would say, like, you look at Alabama, you say it's basically a conservative state. But 60 people came out to vote someone in that, quote unquote, I wouldn't say, I don't even know the person background, but they said 60% of the people voted for this particular individual. They was voting for a cause.
mhm,
They wasn't considered to be less than. It was the cause was were put on the board, and they voted for that particular person. Whereas previously, uh, they would have voted against it, because you have to look at the issues and vote accordingly. For an example, you cannot, and this is sad, and it's sad because I think politically we have to become more involved in our local government, because our lots of decision is made based upon our local government. An example, there should not be books pulled out of the library because they're books of truth. If you should not, but there's absolutely no way someone should say, "Oh, let's don't talk about slavery. Let's don't talk about um, the lynch. Let's not talk about that because that's going to make my child feel bad." It
mhm,
is not about anyone feeling bad. It's not about anyone feeling guilty. It's about teaching the truth, because if you don't do the truth,
yeah,
it will comes out eventually.
yeah,
And those are the things that I don't care if we are one, we still must speak out against it, because eventually it's caused much harm in the end than it will factual in the beginning. Those are my thoughts.
yeah. Agreed. I think it's very important that we understand the truth, and I think it's also very important that we know history, especially when we've done injustice to a people. Um, I totally agree. I think that's very important, that it should be taught, that we learn. If we don't teach it, how will we learn and put some of this injustice out so people can see it and understand it? Even, I just sometimes I just shake my head and I think, what are
I
people thinking? I mean, I just don't know where this
I
comes from.
think I think you people close together when you speak the truth. When you don't speak the truth, you need to speak the truth and come together and say, how can we render what has happened? And we can't. there's something we cannot change, but we need to speak the truth. Because let me tell you, and this is how I think. Many years ago, the truth is that you could take a black person out and they could have a party. You could lynch that black person, and everybody would dance and have a party, and then they would cut the black person up, and they would put part of that black person in a jar and take it home. And, it's reality.
Yeah.
But see, that has to be told. I mean, because, and if you tell it in a certain way and let them know, look, that is not how it should be, but those are the things that happen. You don't hold, you're not accountable for that. It's like you have to think about what was going on at that time. Things have changed, but it did happen. You have to acknowledge it in order to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
And one of the things I say, I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
I was just agreeing with you.
I must have missed it. But I guess what I was saying is that, okay. What I was saying is that some of the things that are happening now, I would call high-tech lynching. And what I mean by high-tech lynching is anytime you have an officer say, I killed that person because I was in fear, and get away with it, that is inexcusable.
Yeah.
That is actually inexcusable. A person walks out on the porch with the broom, and that officer shoots that person. They want to know why. Well, I was in fear that he was going to harm me. I was in fear. How are you going to compare a broom with a gun? And he went out on the porch with a broom, standing on the porch with a broom. To me, that doesn't even make sense. And for somebody to walk away without a charges, that's crazy for anyone. To me, I call that high-tech lynching. That's what that means to me.
I see.
Wow. Anytime, I'm sorry. Were you saying something?
I'm just agreeing with you, and I just do out loud.
Okay. And I guess that's the same, to me, that's the same thing as hanging someone out on a tree and you having a party. I mean, it may not seem to be real, it unheard of, but those things are real. And everybody should not be a police officer, because if they cannot honor the oath that they uphold, they shouldn't be there. The best should be a police officer, absolutely the best, because they go out there every day to put their life online to protect America. Yeah. And you, as a citizen, you are an American. And they go out there and put their life, and you shouldn't have somebody out there disregarding the oath that they have sworn to uphold, killing at their will. Mm-hmm. And basically, that is what equality and justice depicts. Mm-hmm. And that's that's basically what it is. Now, if you want me to read you a couple poems that I have in there, I can do that. But that's the picture of the book itself.
So is the book the stories of those people's lives, and then you have some poem? Is it all in poem form, or is it in story form?
Okay, let me hold on for a second. There's a story. There's a story. Let me pull up my book, and I will see about read you something in here. Okay. And I'm reading this story called Eleanor's Bunker, October 29th, 1984, Bronx, New York. 12-gauge shotgun, takes out a non-mobile elder. What is justice and what is injustice? An elderly disabled woman was shot twice with a 12-gauge shotgun as the eviction notice was being served. Eleanor had been described as psychotic by psychiatrists. She was less than $100 in the rear. What is justice and what is injustice? She was observed naked with a knife when an officer burst her door open. Shortly after the door burst open, she was immediately shot. She was extremely heavy and her mobility was slow. What is justice and what is injustice? Was that not a severe form of injustice to an elderly, mental disabled person? What is justice or injustice? One of her hands was dismantled from her and found days later. What is justice and what is injustice? Within that apartment, her family found her blown off hand days later. What is this? Justice or injustice? Is it justice to disregard a disabled person, lack of understanding? Like I said, there are over 100 individuals. There's a story behind every individual in this story. It tells the entire, it tells the person life. One person life is told in one poem.
And so,
and the book is arranged in alphabetical. Anybody that you want to find from A to Z, you can look at the table of content. And I say to you, that's what you can find in the book.
and so Ollie,
What is justice and what is injustice?
yeah. And so Ollie, in the book, do you have a resolution or an action or a recommendation for folks like myself that's just becoming aware maybe of some of these injustices in the past? I mean, I've seen, ones that are of today. I don't know a lot about history. I came from the North and we just didn't encompass these kinds of things. And so
No,
what's the recommendation for someone
I
like
hear
me?
you. Well, I would say the recommendation for you, be aware of what's going on in your community and don't sit still. Speak out. Speak out when we all have friends. I have friends. And we don't always disagree in our little friend. You can let your friends speak and you can say, well, I hear what you're saying, but I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying. This is my opinion. And I think we should share our thoughts with our friends because that's how things gonna change. If you're in a group, like I have a nephew, we don't always agree. And he'll say some things to me. And I said, well, I don't agree with that. He is much conservative. He's more conservative than I am. He's a good child. I think he was in the Navy. He spent like 8 years he spent like short of 10 years in the Navy and he got out, They was trying to get him to stay. And he says, no, I can't, But my thing is when I talk to him, when we're discussing things, and he'll say to me, he may say to me, not necessarily he says to me, he may say to me, well, do you see the other point of that? I said, you explain to me. There are 6 policemen busting in a door. You see a naked lady there with a knife, backing up against the wall, saying, I'm going to cut you. I'm going to cut you. You explain to me, she's non-mobile. How are you going to justify person shooting, killing that. He's saying cops are not taught to wound. They're taught to put them down. And that's what he's speaking from. I said, well, you have to also, first of all, you have to realize, why were the cops there anyway? They should have, there are other ways that they could have removed this mental disturbed individual. And something is obvious. It's obvious. And for an example, I think this child name is Rice. He was sitting in the park, oh no, he was on his cell phone, 12 years old, a little child. A cop drives up, jumps out of the car, and immediately shoots the child. It's inexcusable.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable. How are you going to justify a cell phone being a gun?
Yeah.
Those are things that I'm talking about. I mean, I know, you want to protect your life, and you want to get back home. You want to get back home to your family. That's very important, because we know each time they go out there, look, they have a hard job. Believe me, I realize cops, they have a hard job. But there has to be some form of rationale in terms of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it.
Exactly. So, Ollie, we're about out of time. Can you tell me a little, and tell our audience where someone could get your book? Is it available on Amazon? How do they find you, and how do they find your book?
Well, it's on Amazon. They can purchase it on Amazon, but also I'm in the process of now collecting all my books and put them on my website. All my books and everything should be on my website within the next month. But if they want to get my book, they can get it on Amazon. They can also get it on Ingram Sparks, but they can get it on Amazon.
Okay, great. Well, you've told us a lot today, and I heard some horrific stories, and I think it's important that we don't put our head in the sand, that we pay attention and that we hear these stories, so that we can make changes, and that we can speak out in the future. So unfortunately, we are out of time today, but I hope that you've enjoyed hearing. I don't know really if we can say we've enjoyed. I hope you've learned. And I hope your heart has heard today, as we've talked to our author today, Ollie MARSHALL Rico. Make sure you look that up when you're looking for the books. Ollie MARSHALL Rico, RICO. Everything else is spelt just like it sounds. But thank you so much, Ollie, for bringing this important subject to our
May I
board
thank
talk
you?
today. Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate the time today, and I appreciate.
May I thank you for
sharing.
having me, and I appreciate you taking the time out to have me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to thank our sponsor, yourauthorhub.com, for helping make this happen. Be sure to go over to Amazon and get that book, Equality, Injustice, or What, by Ollie MARSHALL Rico. And I just want to say, before we close, to be sure and watch out for our next episodes, and that we appreciate you as authors by watching, and we hope that we're inspiring you to tell your story. We'll see you next time on the author spotlight. Have a blessed day.